Hi, I'm Shelley. Welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be my September reading wrap-up, and this month is a pretty short stack of books. There's a couple of audiobooks that I will talk about as well. I finished 6 books. I did finish one on the 2nd. I mentioned this one in my August reading wrap-up, and I finished this one on the 2nd, so I'm not counting this one in this reading wrap-up. But in week 2 of this book, 52 Ways to Reconcile, is to start an Indigenous book club. And one of the books that David Robertson mentions in this chapter is the book that I happened to pick from my TBR veteran jar, which was Richard Wagamese' last novel he wrote before he passed away. Actually, he didn't finish it before he passed away, but it was still published in the parts they had finished. And this one is called Starlight. And this one, I did read an earlier book about, it's Frank Starlight is his name. I just read on the back. He has long settled into a quiet life working on his remote farm, but his contemplative existence comes to an abrupt end with the arrival of Emmy, who has committed a desperate act so that she and her child can escape a life of violence. So he's just working on his remote farm, and he happens to be in a store where Emmy and her daughter are, and the situation happens, and for some reason he decides that he wants to take them in and help her. She's pretty quiet about what she's doing, but early on you find out that she's running from an abusive ex. And throughout the novel you read there's parts where he is trying to track her down in parts of the novel. And this is I guess how both Emmy and Frank Starlight kind of let down their guard a bit. And I really did enjoy this book a lot. I mean, it's a book about relationships and compassion. I guess trying to move past trauma. That, I mean, when you suffer trauma in your life, it doesn't go away. It's always a part of you, but you try to deal with it the best way you can. And I did enjoy this book. With the way that it ended, of course, it wasn't finished. And where is the end there? But the way it was written, you can kind of, I think it is in the back, it talks about how people think that the book would have ended, and I do tend to agree, because as you're reading the novel you can kind of picture what you think or what you hope would happen towards the end. So you don't really find out what happens to them, but you kind of have hope that what you think happens does happen. You know what I mean? But this was his last book Richard Wagamese wrote before he passed away. I think this is a book that I will probably keep. I did read other of his books, and I did donate them to Little Free Libraries, because I find there's not a lot of Indigenous authors' books in libraries, in the Little Free Libraries. So but this one I think I will keep to read again, since it was his last book that he wrote before he passed away. And that is that one. The next one I read was The Woman in Suite 11 by Ruth Ware. I'll put a picture up here somewhere. And this one, it's sort of a sequel. It's the follow-up to The Woman in Cabin 10, which was set on a luxury yacht. And in this book, I think it's like 10 years later, and Lo Blacklock, she is a journalist, she returns to attend the opening of a luxury hotel, only to find herself in a white-knuckled race across Europe. So she receives an invitation to attend the press opening of a luxury Swiss hotel owned by a reclusive billionaire Marcus Liedman. So she decides to go to attend this, the opening of the hotel, and don't really want to say too much because, well, that would probably give away some things that happen in the book. But in the first book, I really enjoyed the setting because it was on a yacht, so it's kind of secluded location. This one is at it's not secluded, it's at a luxury hotel. And I find with all of Ruth Ware's books, because I've read all of her other books, I find that her books have characters that sometimes you find hard to sympathize with. Like, they tend to, pretty much in every book, like a lot of them tend to make bad decisions throughout the book. But I think that's something that I do like about her book. They're not like, they're perfect. They're not perfect. They make mistakes, whatnot. So I did really enjoy that one. And the next one is this one here, Kathy Reich's Crossbones. And this is number 8 in the Temperance Brennan series. So right here. So you can see it right there. I'll move my fingers out of the way. And in this one, Temperance Brennan, she's examining a badly decomposed corpse, and there's damage on the body. And I think there's a Orthodox Jewish man suggests that it's no ordinary Montreal murder. And then someone slips her a photograph of a skeleton unearthed at an archaeological site in Israel. So, of course, that leads her to go to Israel. And then you find it if there seem to be, there's something going on between both bodies. There seems to be a connection there somewhere. So she travels to Israel to find out what's going on. I did enjoy this one, as I do all of her books. That's that one. And let's see, the next one was The Lamplighter's Bookshop by Sophie Austen. And this one is historical because it happens in the 1800s. I'm bad at remembering dates. But this one, at the very beginning, Evelyn Seton and her mother have to leave their house. They haven't seen her father for some time. They don't know where he is. And they've been waiting for him to come back from wherever he's to. And they have to leave their house. Police come because they have to take all the contents in the house to sell it to pay off his debts that he has. So they move in with her aunt. And she finds an advertisement for an assistant at the Lamplighter's Bookshop. And there she's hired as the assistant. And there she meets William Morton, who's an aspiring writer, and he's keeping secrets of his own. And his uncle owns a shop. And you find out secrets that are both keeping from each other. And they're both trying to figure out the other person. There is romance in this one as well, which I did enjoy. It was an interesting book because, back then, of course, she wanted to get a job, and it was like looked down on for a woman who was supposed to be in higher society to actually work. So it was something that's different. I did enjoy it. The next one was an audiobook that became available. I heard about the book, and it became available on my online at my local library. It's called Truth That Is Not Peace by Miriam Taves. I believe how you pronounce her last name. And she also narrated narrated the audiobook, so I did enjoy that, because that way you get more of a sense of the book. And this is, I believe it's a memoir. It is nonfiction. And I'll just read what it says here. It says, in this breathtaking memoir of stunning emotional force and electrifying honesty, one of Canada's most iconic writers tells her own story for the first time. Why do you write? The organizer of a literary event in Mexico City asked Miriam Toews. Each attempt at an answer from Toews, all unsatisfactory to the organizer, surfaces new layers of grief, guilt, and futility connected to her sister's suicide more than 15 years ago. She's been keeping up, she realizes, an internal correspondence with her beloved sibling, attempting to fill a silence she can barely comprehend. As Toews turns to face that silence, we come to see that the question, why I write, is as impossible to answer as deciding whether to live life as a comedy or a tragedy. A masterpiece of nonfiction, a truth that is not peace, explores the uneasy pact every creative person makes with memory. Wildly original yet intimately powerfully precise, momentous, hilarious, wrenching, and joyful, this is Miriam Toews at her dazzling best, remaking her personal world and inventing a brilliant literary form to hold it. And I really did enjoy this book. Someone's memoir, something about their life. I don't certainly give it 5, 4, 3 stars. I mean, this is their life and this is how they're telling it. And I could really feel the grief and guilt she was going through about her sister's suicide. Throughout the book, she's going from past to present. And she talks about her sister and her life and things that went on in their lives. And she thinks back to things like she wrote to her sister and things they said to each other. And I think that maybe that did help her deal with her grief to some extent. And I thought this was a really good book. And of course, if you do read it, there is suicide. She's talking about her sister who did commit suicide. So that would be something, if you're not comfortable with that, then you probably wouldn't not want to pass on this book. And let's see. And the last book that I read in September, actually didn't mean to pick up. September 30th is Truth and Reconciliation Day here in Canada. And of course, I read this book last month, 52 Ways to Reconcile. And I had to drive over 2 hours to town and back that day, so I was trying to figure out what book I could maybe get the audiobook to listen to while I drove there and back. That wasn't a long book. And then I was looking at my shelves, and since I read Richard Wagamese earlier this month, this nonfiction of his, One Drum, Stories and Ceremonies for a Planet. This book is also unfinished. This was another nonfiction. This was nonfiction unfinished at the time of his death. So I decided to listen to this book while I was driving. It was pretty much exactly the length of the book was pretty much exactly the length of time that I drove there and back. So, and this book talks about. See, I can read there. One Drum draws from the foundational teachings of Ojibwe tradition, the grandfather teachings, focusing specifically on the lessons of humility, respect, and courage. The volume invites readers to unite in ceremony to heal themselves and bring harmony to their lives and communities. After experiencing neglect, abuse, and loss of identity, Wagamese recalled the feeling of hope he gained from connecting with the spiritual ways of his people. He expressed the belief that ceremony has the power to unify and to heal for people of all backgrounds. When ceremonies are shared, he wrote, we truly become one song and one drum, beating together in a common purpose, and we are healed. So there are 7 lessons of the grandfather teachings. I believe it said in this at the beginning, but he didn't get a chance to write them all. He did write about the first three lessons, which were humility, courage, and respect. And I did enjoy listening to this book as I drove. And I would like to read it again because, as you can see, the cover is beautiful. And also inside, it does have a lot of beautiful photographs throughout. And I feel like Indigenous people's teachings, I feel like they really love to share their beliefs and how they live. They love to share it with other people. And that's why I think that's part of the reason why I do love reading Indigenous authors, and especially Richard Wagame's, his other 2 nonfiction books. It really helps to understand Indigenous people more. As me, as a non-Indigenous person, it really does help to learn more about them. And this book here also, I had another book chosen for the Buzzword Reading Challenge this month. And one was Foliage on the Cover, the challenges, and the other one was an event in the title. So on this book here, there is foliage on the cover. You can see the foliage right there, the green, all the greenery of nature. And it says stories and ceremonies. So I would consider a ceremony as an event. So this book did happen to cover both challenges for this month, and I read it and listened to it on the last day of the month. And I really did enjoy this, and I'm certain I will read this one again at some point. And that is it for my reading this month. It was not a great reading month. There was quite a few days where I didn't read anything. And same with this month now, October, when I do my reading wrap up. It should be better because at the end of September I did start one book and I was halfway through 2 more. So those 3 will be included, of course, with October's wrap-ups, so it will seem like a lot more books. So if you have read any of these books, you can comment down below and let me know. And if I would like to read, one of the things I do want to do going into next year is read more nonfiction and more books by BIPOC authors. So especially Indigenous authors. So if you have any recommendations for me, you can comment down below as well and let me know. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you again with another video soon. Bye.